This is Seasons of Discontent with your hosts Rick Snyder and Matt Combs.
Welcome to Seasons of Discontent, Season 9, Episode 11, brought to you by Rick Snyder's Washington on social media. And I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
And we're back discussing all things Washington sports and life as part of the mighty Rick Snyder Network. So tune in on YouTube, Twitter, wherever you want to do. X. All right, Matt, the Washington Commanders got back in the black and beat the Atlanta Falcons. Decent enough win, comparable team. And yet everybody's unhappy because it wasn't 50-0. And, Sam Howell, he threw 3 touchdowns, but he ran into 2 sacks. I mean, boy, I had to write a column for 106.7 The Fan right before saying, hey, enjoy the win and blank up. I mean, it's just, holy cow, these fans just cannot be happy. And it was a fair win. They only gave up 16. They got 3 interceptions. A lot of backups did some nice things. It wasn't a perfect one, but then I noticed perfect teams like Philly and San Francisco lost. So enjoy the win.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, both of us picked Atlanta to win the game on last week's show, so it was a nice surprise probably for both of us. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. This is a team that we're very comparable to. I mean, by all accounts, we have a good running game, young quarterbacks. We may have the advantage with wide receivers over them, but they definitely have the advantage in tight end, and your defenses are comparable. I mean, this was this week and the coming week against the Giants is a good get right game. They're get right games for your defense. And we saw guys who maybe have been overlooked step up, I mean, they're not getting the combo of sacks from Sweat and Young that we thought we were going to get, but other guys are stepping up and making plays. And, we saw a guy like Jamin Davis get his first interception. That's a guy that's been pretty beaten up over the past couple of years, and justifiably so for his play, being a first round pick. So look, was it surprising? No. I mean, this was definitely a pick 'em, a 50-50 game. So, you just have to accept this. I mean, there's 17 games in the NFL. You're not going to win all 17 of them.
And I will say this, many a game in the NFL is decided by who lost rather than who won.
Yeah, and Atlanta lost this game by Ritter throwing 3 picks.
Yeah, if they hadn't done that, they might have won this game.
Because Atlanta won every category, time of possession, everything like that, all the metrics that you want to win, except for the turnover battle.
Yeah, but Bijan Robinson, my first time to watch him, I was like, what's the big deal? They really shut him down. I didn't see him hardly do anything.
Well, I think that's one of the underappreciated things with this defense. Yes, they've been giving up big plays in the air and stuff like that. And really, I think aside from Cook from Buffalo, they've pretty much contained the run, as far as the guy that is slated to come in and kill you. They've controlled that guy. And hey, and Sunday we had the better Robinson. That touchdown pass that Brian caught and just demolished 2 guys to get into the end zone. That was the kid that we drafted. That's what they need to see more of. We just need to see more of that when he's toting the rock instead of catching it.
Yeah, what really surprised me the most was when Crowder did the 61-yard punt return that they caught him. They caught him around the 11.
Hey, look, his first stint with the Redskins, they wouldn't have caught him.
Yeah, this was the older Crowder.
Yeah.
Surprised. I mean, he could have maybe angled it a little better to make him go a little longer, but I was surprised they caught him. I thought he was clear at the 20.
Hey, so I was in the car listening to the radio, and Bram brought up a fun fact. Do you know the last person on the Washington Redskins / football team / Commanders to return a punt for a touchdown? Jamison Crowder. And that's a guy that left, went to New York, went to Buffalo, was cut, and then came back.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like Joe Theismann or Darrell Green in those playoff games.
No, It was Crowder.
Because Joe Theismann returned punts, didn't do particularly anything in them. Where Darrell ran for a touchdown, that big famous one against the Bears. If you look early in that run, Ron Rivera's in the frame. But he's like left sideline, so he wasn't even near Daryl. He was just he was doing his job down one path. It wasn't involved in the play. But
yeah, look, I mean, this is like going back real quick to the win. I mean, this is a feel-good win that this team needed after losing 3 straight. 2 of those losses were tough losses. You know, you went to overtime with Philadelphia where you had a chance to win, and you know you were expected to fully demolish a beaten up and not good Bears team. You know, obviously this team is not ready to compete head to head with a team like Buffalo, who is a Super Bowl contender. So, you know, this is a team that you're comparable to, and you got the win. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. Everybody needs to chill out, celebrate. They're 3-3.
Yeah. And somebody asked me, well, how do you think they're going to do over the last 11 games? So I went down and I thought, okay, I think they're going to beat the Giants this week. And I think they beat New England in a few weeks.
New England stinks. Bailey Zappi will probably be their quarterback.
You know, the Rams, they could win that game. I think they'll beat Dallas in the end, last game of the year. Okay, that's 4 wins. And then I thought, no, I don't think you're going to beat Philly. Not going to beat Seattle. Probably split with the Giants. You lose one, split with Dallas, lose Thanksgiving. Miami lose, Jets lose, San Francisco lose. I thought, okay, that's 4 and 7 over the last 11. That makes you a 7 and 10. Not too good.
Well, I mean, it's what Ron Rivera has been. Rivera has been 500 or below or slightly above ever since he got here. And that's why at the end of the year, there's going to be changes made. That's another thing that people need to chill out on. You don't fire Del Rio. You don't fire Ron. We talked about it last week. Bieniemy's not going to take that interim tag. He's just not going to do it. It's going to ruin his reputation if they fail.
Yeah. But you can sit there. I know Ron's going, oh, we're still young. We're still learning. 4 years in, if you finish 7 and 10, you did what you did your first year at 7 and 9. You didn't advance at all.
Yeah, and I honestly, there's wholesale changes coming to this team, and it's not just the coaching staff. I think you have to take a long, hard look at Chase Young. I mean, you have to take a long, hard look at Montez Sweat. I mean, aside from the game against the Cardinals, we've seen flashes here and there. Young's probably been the best defensive lineman. He's just not hitting home, you know. Sweat went out with a thumb injury. I mean, come on, dude. You want to get paid this year. Like, pop it back in like Deron Payne did.
Yeah. Deron Payne's like the biggest, toughest guy in the world, you know, but so I was looking at the figures. Next year, they pay Payne $21.6 million, and they're paying Allen $21.5 million. So there's $43 million on those 2 linemen. You think they're going to give Chase and Sweat both big money contracts? You just can't.
No.
So I think Casey Toohill, what we just saw, made a real bid to say, you don't need Chase. You can keep me. Now, Casey's also unsigned for next year. But he's been, you know, and he's steadily gotten better. But, you know, he had 2 sacks, should have had a third. I thought one of them, he just ran down Desmond Ridder, just went right at him and caught him before Desmond could do anything. That was a great sack.
And look, a little bit of show prep here for you. I'm going to run the numbers by you. Chase Young, 5 games played, 8 solo tackles, 4 assists for a total of 12, 3 sacks, and 3 tackle for losses. Casey Toohill, 6 games played, 7 solo tackles, 1 assist, 8 total tackles, 3 sacks, 2 tackle for losses. And the pay scale is astronomically different. I mean, if you were getting the same production from a Casey Toohill that you're getting from Chase Young, now, granted, it's not apples to apples. I get it. Chase Young is being double teamed. Chase Young obviously is going to have a bullseye on him compared to a Casey Toohill. But if you can get the same to similar production for millions of dollars less that will allow you to upgrade at a need offensive lineman, why not?
Right. And I mean, Montez and Chase are both making $11 million plus this year, and Casey's earning $1 million.
Right.
So now next year, I don't know what Casey would re-sign as, because as an unrestricted free agent, if he has a good year, somebody's going to throw some money. It's going to be more than 5, but still, it won't be the 20 million that Chase or Sweat are going to try and get.
Exactly.
So, you know, even if you have a young quarterback that's not making much, you can't throw that much money. You can't throw $75 million on a D-line that does not dominate, by the way. You know, and you know, that's the other part of it. If they were 4 blocks of granite all going to the Hall of Fame, okay, maybe I'll ride with you, but that's not happening.
Yeah,
And,
if you're building the Steel Curtain or the Purple People Eaters from back in Minnesota days, sure, pay them. If they're getting in that quarterback's face just about every down, sure, you know. But like I said, you have areas of need in other areas and more glaring issues. Sam Howell is the most sacked quarterback in the league, and it ain't even close. So you have to upgrade the offensive line. It is a position that has been ignored by Ron and company since he got here. They always want to get these tackles that can play center or this guard that can play tackle. I'm tired of the multi-position guys. You know, look at a guy like Trent Williams and look at what Christian McCaffrey's doing in San Francisco. We're going to see it up close soon. You know, that is a beast of a man that you gave away for a 3rd round pick. You know, I mean, you need another guy like that. You need another stud left tackle to protect Sam Howell. And if you have to sacrifice, you've kept Allen, you've kept Payne. If you have to say, you need to lock up Cam Curl. Cam Curl's the best safety you have on the team. You know, that's another guy that's coming up. But if you have to sacrifice a Chase Young or Montez Sweat in order to get better on the offensive side of the ball, because honestly, Rick, look at this league. Offense wins championships nowadays. This ain't defense. This ain't the old 2000 Ravens where you're going to get by with Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, I mean, one of these days, Sam's not getting up if he gets sacked.
I know.
I thought Cornelius Lucas did a really great job.
Mm-hmm.
I frankly would put him over on the right tackle spot until Wiley sit down. And I'd play Cornelius because he can play either tackle. You know, Leno's wife unfortunately lost her baby Saturday, and you know, so he couldn't play.
Right.
And I thought Lucas did a great job. He didn't give up one pressure. Mm-hmm. So, you know, whenever they've gotten a left tackle in the past, all right, Jacoby was the freak. He was the undrafted guy that Gibbs didn't even want. Mm-hmm. And I actually talked to a couple of people. I know Beathard and Gibbs better than I did. That was just a punk kid. And, you know, I said, were they friends that worked together or were they co-workers? And two people who were very close to this both said co-workers. Mm-hmm. And now they became friends, but they were co-workers. And that's what they're going to need coming up. They need to find that. So, you know, Beathard found Jacoby for him. Then you get Lachey. You know, that cost you your starting quarterback who just threw 4,000 yards. Yeah, then you get Chris Samuels, who was the 3rd pick in the draft. And then you get Trent, who I think was the 4th pick in the draft. So you're not going to get him at number 12 or 15 in the draft. That's not the guy. You're getting the 3rd guy. Nope. You don't want the 3rd guy. You want the 1st guy. But they're going to win enough games that they're once again in the middle of the draft.
Yeah, the model of finding a John Jansen type guy in the 4th round, it's not going to work. That doesn't work anymore. We've tried it. They tried it with Sadiq Charles. They've tried it with many different offensive linemen where for the first 2 or 3 rounds, they've just disrespected the position. And, you know, they need to focus on that. Or I'm sorry, but Sam Howell is going to be the next David Carr. You know, he's going to get sacked out of this league basically because you're going to kill any confidence the kid has. Now, granted, this kid is Teflon. He makes a mistake and it just bounces right off of him the next play. But, you know, how much longer is that mentality going to stick with the kid, you know?
Yeah. One other debate before we go. Danny Johnson over Emmanuel Forbes. They played Danny in this game. Forbes sat on the bench for a reset. Danny played pretty well. They did well. But the thing is, Ron said, you need to reset. You need to step back and look and all. Okay, but you said when Sam Howell was pulled from Buffalo, that young players have to go fight through the hard times. So how come Howell keeps playing, but Emmanuel doesn't? The answer is there are different rules for quarterbacks than anybody else. Yeah. But honestly, if Danny Johnson can play, then let Emmanuel sit and watch.
Yeah, I kind of feel you on that, but also I can't place all the secondary blame just on Emmanuel Forbes. Until this week, St. Just and Kendall Fuller have not been playing to their potential. They're not playing to the quality of play that we saw last year. You know, before St. Just went down, he was on fire. You know, Kendall Fuller, when he came back as a free agent from Kansas City, was like, why did we ever let this guy go? Why did we ever trade him for Alex Smith? It's weird. You know, honestly, like you said, with Ron not benching Hal after throwing 4 interceptions, you know, that's different. It is different than defensive linemen or defensive backs because those 3 guys rely on one another. You know, if one guy's not covering his guy, or somebody goes to a wrong spot or makes a mistake, then it's pretty much, it's just the whole defensive backfield that's in trouble. So,
Yeah.
you know, and honestly, who's to say that Del Rio didn't change schemes and they don't have more safety help over the top? Cam Curl was made a very big impact on this game. This was probably one of his best games this season. But you know, and of course they do it every year, Rick. I don't understand how you go into the preseason with a top 5 ranked defense and everybody thinks you're going to light the world on fire. They come out flat. They come out just not prepared. They get 1 or 2 big injuries. Derek Forrest is out. Jeremy Reeves is out. Guys like that. They benched Emmanuel Forbes. You know, Casey Toohill comes in rotation. These unnamed guys are the ones that are making the biggest impacts on the field. They do it every single year, and then they rally around these underdog type guys, and then they turn into the defense that we expected them to be.
Yeah. All right. We got to get out of here. So I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
And we'll be back on Friday with the next edition. Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Seasons of Discontent with your hosts, Rick Snyder and Matt Combs.